Okay, so let's move over to next interesting part of the course, which will be a 7th chord. Before we start, I want to tell you that FL Studio gives you really convenient opportunity to stay in scale. You can simply go to Options, Helpers, Scale Highlighting, and choose, for example, Major. Then you choose your root note, for example, E. Now you can say that all of the scale notes are highlighted. Root note, for example, here will be E. But for now, I'll stay in the C major scale. All right. So this is our root chord, our triad, major triad. And you can make this chord a 7th chord simply by adding a 7th to the root note of the chord. And this is really important because we are adding the 7th of the root note of a chord, not of a scale. So let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This type of chords are perceived like a jazzy, funky chords. And this is really cool because, as I said, the chord is at least 3 notes, but we can add more notes to the chord. And that's when the moment when wide world of music and harmony comes up to us. So we have this chord. And now, for example, let's build a 7th chord, but on the 4th using the Roman numerals. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's the 4th note of the scale. So let's go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we can count another 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. And this is our 7th. And as we had the inversions with our triads, we also can do inversions with all chords. So for example, so now when we have it like this, we can, for example, take the first chord and make it first inversion. Control and arrow up. As you can say, completely new world opens up for us with the 7th chords. So let's build a whole scale. And now we can make 7th chords from all of them. I hope that you can do it by yourself by now, but I'll do it for you once again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we go so on and so on. Let's hear them all. And those are actually just the triads, right? But with the 7th added. And adding a 7th is a really common process and makes our chord progressions way more interesting and emotional. So let's take a look at the graph right here. So as we had earlier, C major, D minor, E minor, and so on, without the 7th. And we just add a 7 to the end of it, but with some changes. So let's take a look here. We have a C major, right, chord here. So we have a C major chord right here, major third, minor third, and major third. And here we have a major thirds on the edges of the chords. And that's why it's called a major 7. And here we have a D minor 7th, and we have 2 minor thirds on the edges, and the major third in the middle. And we go so on until the dominant chord, which is G7 in this case. It's a chord on a 5th note in our scale, and why it's not major or minor here? Because it has a major third and 2 minor thirds. And that's why it's dominant. It's a 5th chord in our scale. Then we go to the 6th chord, which is A minor 7th. And then the 7th chord, which is B half diminished 7. And it's half diminished because it has only 2 minor thirds and 1 major third. Then we come back again to the 1st chord, which is C major 7. So as an example, let's build a super easy but interesting sounding chord progression using only 7th chords. So as a progression in Roman numerals, let's choose 6, 5, 1, and 4. All right? We are in A minor natural scale. Only white notes. And let's start. 6th will be our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will be our first bass note. Then 5, I can say that it's here. So now we are going to 1st chord. So it's A. And 4th, that means it's D. Sounds like this. And now let's build chords out of it. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 for 7th chord. And next chord, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 3rd chord. And last chord. And it sounds like this. Now let's take our root note of every chord and copy it an octave down. Now, as we learned in the inversion section, we should make the notes closer to each other. So let's take, for example, this G and turn it octave down, and maybe this E an octave up, and this D an octave up. Let's hear it now. Now we can, for example, make a simple melody using only inversions. And that's really interesting because we can take, for example, this G right here and copy it octave up. Now, for example, we can take this F and copy it an octave up. Look, we've made super cool sounding progression using only the knowledge we've already gained. Now, extra tip from me, take the first 2 chords, hold Shift and grab the ending of the 1st chord and drag it slightly to the left when you hit the half of the last bar. And the same thing here. Alright, now let's add some groove, and you pretty much now have fundamental for R&B or chill track. You can, for example, add a melody using only the scale notes and using the groove that you've made earlier. Be sure to just use the diatonic notes